A story where millions of people are impacted, right, who all took advantage of the program and signed up at one point or another for 23andMe. And naturally, people are concerned about their privacy. So how do you protect your data, which in this case is about as sensitive as it gets? Let's bring in business expert and attorney Parag Amin with more help for us. Good to see you. And I appreciate you joining us. You know, it's interesting when we think about protecting our assets, our DNA is not something that is on, the top of our mind typically to protect. So with the news, with 23andMe, what should we be most concerned about first before we talk about how we can protect it?
Yeah, good morning, Steve. So first and foremost, the most important thing is, as you said, protecting your data, protecting some of the most sensitive information you have, which is your DNA sequencing. So if you've used 23andMe, they have your data, and you can actually log in and delete that data before it's sold. So to do that, you can go into the website, click on settings, and then within settings, you'll find an area where you can click delete data. So you want to do that before the company is sold, because ultimately, whether the company is sold holistically or it's sold for parts, a bankruptcy is like a garage sale. Everything is for sale, and ultimately it's going to go to the highest bidder. So you don't want your data being sold to the highest bidder.
So I'll just say this as an aside to our viewers. I went online yesterday and I did exactly what you just said, and I deleted the data. I think everybody else had the same idea. The website was very slow. It was lagging. There was a lot of traffic on it with a lot of people who have been visiting that website, perhaps to do just that. If you don't delete that data, what are the concerns? Where potentially could it end up?
Well, ultimately, Steve, it ends up with the highest bidder. So whoever ends up bidding and buying that data, whatever business that they're in, ultimately we will be able to use it for whatever their business is. Typically, I think most likely the data buyers are going to be someone in the health space or someone in the wellness space who's either formulating products, so they may use that data to better their products, or they may end up using the data to be able to market to the individuals whose data they have and advertise personal products for those people. So again, it is very, very sensitive. And I highly encourage anybody who's used the site to go in and take the time to just delete that data.
Sure, and just a heads up, if you subscribed or you used 23andMe, a lot of people use it for ancestry, but of course the medical part really seems to be what they've been pushing the last couple of years to see if you're predispositioned for any potential illness or medical situation. This is Parag, this is a website that did get hacked. They had the data breach that they talked about a year ago. The settlement kind of led to where we are today with the bankruptcy filing. But because this is somebody who already had an information leak a while ago, should we be as concerned as we were a year ago, or more concerned now, or less concerned?
Well, look, I mean, ultimately, it's hard to say if your data was compromised. Roughly half of the user's data was compromised and leaked. But you necessarily, even if you were a part of that leak, you don't necessarily want it to get out to more people. So at the end of the day, you got to remember that the data collected and stored by companies like 23andMe is not protected by HIPAA. There are very few regulations and laws surrounding and protecting this kind of data because it is a relatively new area. So you don't have the same protections as you would when you give your medical data to a health insurer or to a medical provider.
It's great information to know. We're going to wrap it up with this. And first of all, I appreciate the advice, which is very simple with 23andMe. You just say, just go into the settings, go down to where it says delete all data, delete all the data, because this company is essentially going to be auctioned off. What about if it's another company that maybe uses something similar, like an Ancestry or something else that a lot of people are using? Anything we can do there to make sure our data is protected?
Well, ultimately, it depends on what state you're in, because there aren't national protections, because, again, this is a relatively new area. But ultimately, many companies these days will let you log in and delete your data. So look, ultimately, once you've got your test or the information you're looking for, there really is no reason to keep your data there. Just take a few minutes out of your day, do it today. Just log in and ask them to delete all of your data.
Yeah, it's good advice, and it makes sense. And you're right. I mean, even in this particular case, full admission, I signed up years ago. I went in yesterday, I screen grabbed everything that I needed, and then just deleted the rest. And at this point, hopefully good to go. Parag, thank you. I appreciate your insight.